Hi there. It's Steph's World, Spiritual Foundations, Chapter 21. And as I've publicized over the whole world, today is my son's, that would have been his 36th birthday. Matt was actually my middle child, even though his older brother I had for almost a year and did not feel that I was capable of actually raising a child. I just felt like I didn't have the money. I didn't have what was necessary to give to my child. Now, one of the things I've been taught in my life by spiritual advisors much later in my life was that God steps in, little do we know. And God provides all of our needs about that. And when I look back, which was one of my assignments, check your life. Look at it from as far back as you can remember. And when I do that, I found out, wow, there were a lot of people in there that just popped in, popped out. They were only there for a year or two, or maybe 10 years even. But when they were there, what happened? Sometimes good, sometimes not so good. But there was a lesson in everything. And my job was to try to figure out where that lesson was and how it played in my life. That was my job. Before the presidential election, I got kind of dragged into it a little bit. I allowed myself to be. I don't put any blame on anything or anybody, okay? But my mission in life is not to be a political doomsdayer. That's not my mission in life. That is not what my child and my other children would want me to do right now. And that's not what I want to do. I have to stop that right now. It detracts me from my focus. And my focus right now is on us as human beings and where we're at today and where we're hopefully going to be in the future. But it has to start with today, right now. I live in the Deep South now. It's been a new experience for me, trust me. I used to consider Kansas City, Missouri the Deep South, or at least part of the South, until I came down to Georgia. Oh my goodness. Now we are definitely in the Deep South down here. But the good news is I get along with I haven't not gotten along with anybody down here. I have not had any real conflict. I have had some interesting experiences, I will not deny. But it all rests with me. Not with them, but with me. Okay? Whatever experience I have with another human being will depend on me and my outlook and the way I see and feel about me will come across to them. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say is that, let's say I have very negative feelings about myself. Let's pretend that I think that I am not fit for anything, that I am not worthwhile as a human being. Now, what do you think that's going to send out to the universe? A lot of negativity, let me tell you. And what do you think it's going to draw into me? A lot of negativity. Now, how do I know all this? Because I was like that. I'm writing a little mini-series right now, and every bit of it's true. I won't lie to you. Now, one thing I will do to protect the other people is I may not tell everything. So when you read that, I want you to remember something if you do read it. That's the good stuff. There's a lot more. And there's so much more. I'd have to write a couple of volumes of books to really cover it all. And I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is write what I think is important in telling a story that's going to cumulate into who I am today. Or let's put it a different way. It's going to show you where I came from and how I got here today. Now, even in the old days, I didn't lie. I may not have told the truth all the time. I may not have told what happened all the time. But I didn't actually lie. Because, frankly, I hated liars. I want the truth. I have always wanted the truth. I don't know where I got that from. I believe it's my soul, to be honest with you. I think I was born with it. I'm going to tell you something that was taught to me by several people, several spiritual advisors. Now, they shared this with me. It didn't mean that I had to believe in it, okay? And frankly, it took me a while to truly understand what they were trying to tell me. They told me that we pick our own families. We pick our parents. Cool concept, huh? When you stop and think about it, it really makes sense. It didn't for me for a long time, even though I followed their suggestions. I did the things that they told me to do for the embetterment of my soul. But today, I truly understand that concept, the picking of my parents. Now, if you've read any of my stories, you'll go, oh my God, why would anybody pick a mother and father as chaotic as mine were? And trust me, my childhood was one chaos world after another. Beyond anything most households could ever be, except drug addict households or alcoholic households. Then they're just as chaotic. And how do I know? Because I brought my children up in a fairly chaotic household too. And the reason for that was because everything I learned in the first 18 years of my life, I continued to hang on to for many years to come. In the process of that, I had 3 children. And at the time, I didn't look at those children as the true miracles that they were. But they weren't. Each and every one of them. My 2 sons and my daughter. Now, as I said, if you've read any of my writings. They're out there, part 1 through part 7. I finally put part 7 out last night. Part 7 was tough. There's another one that was really tough too. The one where I had to give the child of my heart up when he was about 7 months old. Now I'm going to jump ahead and tell you the happy ending to that. When he turned 19, in fact on his 19th birthday, he contacted me. He found my sister in Chicago and he contacted me. Now I'm 59 now, and he was 19. So do some subtraction here. That was almost 20 years ago. Okay. And when he came back into my life, he found out he had a half brother and a half sister. He found out that his mother, his real mother, me, had gone back to college, gotten an education, and had a great job. Made really good money. Well, I didn't make really good money, but I made plenty of money to support my family, finally. It took a lot of years to get there, but we got there. And my children lived a very comfortable life. They had a home, their own home. We did not rent. I bought it during one of my real fast marriages. Those are yet to come. You will be reading about those if you continue to follow my story. But the point is that it wasn't what he expected. When he first met me, he expected some woman living in a ramshackle apartment with just nothing. He was not expecting an educated mother with 2 other children. I had a lot of problems with my son, and I still do. Life isn't perfect, and it never will be. Yes, he calls me Mom, finally, after many, many years. And but he also has some expectations from me, and I'm not going to get into all that. That will come out in the story and why he felt that way. I think it's kind of obvious why he developed those feelings. But we had a lot of good things that came from it, many good things. Matt, my son who passed away, and that today is his birthday, he developed a relationship with his half brother, and it was good. It was a wonderful relationship. They loved each other. My daughter, and that was a thicker skin, hard to break through. Even today, she doesn't consider my other son her true brother. She just doesn't. Even though when he came back into our lives, she was only 13 years old. I tried to get everybody together. I tried with all my heart. I tried to get my oldest son to visit us more often, to be more part of his family. I brought him to his grandparents. I brought him to his great-grandmother. I did everything in my power to bring this boy into my blood and into my world. But I have to admit that when he came into my life, my world was still pretty much a mess. Now, I may have had a lot of material things, but I didn't have a lot of spiritual things at all. Not yet. That came later. Let's talk about those spiritual things, because that has to be my focus today. It really does. I had a gentleman that saw me on Google Plus, and he called me. He gave me his phone number, and I think I sent back my phone number. Just figured, what the heck, what can a phone call hurt? And this gentleman actually called me, and he told me that I was losing focus, and he was right. Absolutely, I don't disagree with that at all. He said that, I'd been doing really well, that my soul was reaching out to him, and I had made a connection soul-wise. I believe that. I know deep in my heart I did. But when I started getting involved in other things, they were distracting, too distracting for what I need to be doing. My focus must be on spirituality, and there is a good reason for that. Don't think that I don't pay attention to what's going on in this world. Don't ever think that. I will never lose sight of what my world is doing, or my country, or anything about what is going on. I am completely aware of it. I'm probably more aware of it than other people may even be. Now, when my son was in the Army, he shared nothing about the Army with me. Nothing. I didn't even know he was a master sergeant until he passed. When he came home, he never wore his khaki outfit or any of that stuff. Never. He was dressed as my man. Always. I don't know if he did that to protect me, for me not to see him as a soldier, but for me to see him as my son. And knowing Matt with his beautiful heart, I have a feeling that that's why he did that, to protect his mother. And I know Matt knew a lot. I know that. But I knew a lot about Matt, too, that most people don't know. Those are my secrets that will go to the grave with me. They're not for anyone else. Those are private things about my child. And no one will dishonor my son to me in any way. I will come to the defense of my child at the risk of my own life. And I have always been that way about the people I love. Always. Ask my daughter. When my children became teenagers, they were afraid to tell me about bad things that were happening in their lives. You know why? Because I overreacted. Because I would go down to the actual school superintendent and argue my child's case. Defend my children to the max. But the problem was, I embarrassed them. I got too involved. I didn't know what balance was. So let's talk about balance. What is that? Let's talk about, first of all, negativity. I started on that subject. Many years ago, I was an extremely negative person. Or at least I portrayed those feelings of negativity. And all I did was draw in very other negative people. That's what I did. And that lasted the first 41 years of my life. And then the last 18 years of my life have been to find God. Now, I've been to religions. I've even been baptized a couple of times. 2 times, as a matter of fact. I've read parts of the Bible. I haven't read all of it. The Jesus Christ Bible. You know. I've read parts of the Quran. I'm just beginning with that. You'll have to forgive me. But I like to learn about everything. I've read up on Hinduism. I read about Hinduism years ago. I believe in reincarnation. For those of you who are Christians, I've got news for you. Jesus Christ did speak of reincarnation. Not just his own, but ours too. There's a book by Emmett Fox, and it's called Reincarnation. And if anyone's truly interested, they ought to go out and get it. It's only 54 pages long, but it's jam-packed with some very interesting information. Emmett Fox was a Christian. He was a complete and total Christian. He believed in the Holy Bible. He believed in Jesus Christ as the Son of God. But he also believed in some of the Gnostic beliefs. Now, for those of you who don't know what Gnosticism is, that's mysticism. A few times I've actually quoted some of the Gnostic Bible on my Google Plus site. You probably didn't even know where it came from, but it actually came from the Gnostic Bible. Now, I call that a Bible too. Why shouldn't I? It's a holy book, just like every other holy book. Okay, so getting back to the negative energy. All right. Then, after 18 years, I'm developing a new energy. Okay, we call it positive energy. Now, in order to maintain that positive energy, I must go through certain practices within myself. I must stay close to my God, my Creator. I must do things every day. I must pray as much as possible. I must review the things that I've been taught already. I must search out new things. Now, I'm going to read a few things, as I usually do. Now, I want to talk about something before I read this. Some of you all know that I live in a lot of pain in my body, in my physical body. And I probably have a lot of pain in my soul, too. I'm working on that. It takes a long time to break through those walls. And believe me, there are walls built up to try to protect me. As long as I trust and have faith in my Creator, I'm fine. The walls will come down. But the minute I lose just a little bit of faith, those walls start building right back up again. And here's what I found. As long as I am living with God in my heart and soul, and God is with me, just as He is, it is. Let's stop that He business, okay? There's something in one of my books that talks about how, we grow up and we get over our, the Grimm's fairy tale stuff, right? We grow out of that, correct? But one of the things that we don't grow out of is this concept of God, okay? Our mother and fathers sometimes try to explain God to us as children, and they say, well, God is a wonderful old man with this big old beard that just loves you and sits on a big throne and has his arms out and he's wrapped around you protecting you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, that's all fine and dandy for a 5-year-old. But as a child grows up, I think we need to become a little more legitimate. Let's not let our children believe that kind of thing, please. And God doesn't want us to believe that. It's right in the Bible. Go read it. Please, read it for yourself. If you don't believe me, get your Bibles out. Get your good books out. God is not a he, she, or whatever, in my humble opinion. I honor and respect what you all believe. I've heard goddess, I've heard all kinds of stuff. Good, fine. But here's what I have to say to you. I don't believe God is a he or she. I don't know what God is. I won't know about God until I pass. My son knows, but I don't. Even with the unbelievable experiences I truly have had, I still can't tell you much about God, except for what I feel in my heart and the things that I've learned so far. Now, I'm told over and over again, God can heal you, God can heal you. I believe that with all my heart. But here's something else. Hear me well. Maybe I'm not supposed to be healed. Maybe that's not what God intended. Maybe I am supposed to be just exactly the way I am, to show you something, to show you that we don't have to whine and complain and fuss about what we appear to feel like they're injustices of our lives. Oh, she broke her back. Oh, a man broke her neck. Oh my God. Oh my God. No. No. Do not feel that way for me. You're hurting me by doing that. Feel differently for me. Feel, good Lord, this woman has God with her. She has strength with her. And you know, right now, I'm trying to prepare myself for something big. I agreed to take my daughter on something wonderful, and there is no way I'm going to ruin that for my child. No way. Now, I'm getting a little late, but that's okay. Now, I'm going to read you something. Well, first of all, I'm going to tell you something. When I finally went to the doctor with all this horrible pain that I had been living in for years, my daughter, who is 33 years old, told me, Mom, I never remember you not complaining about your back hurting. I never remember you not complaining. 33 years. I still went out and danced like nothing in the world was wrong with me. And I could dance, let me tell you. I had the body of a dancer. And I loved it. I felt every bit of the rhythm of life. At any rate, even today I could probably still do a little dancing. But if I do, I pay the price. But here's what I said to one of my spiritual advisors when I finally went to the doctor, and that when they ran 6 months into going to the doctor, they finally did an MRI. They were in absolute shock at the sight of my lower back. They had no idea what they were going to find up here yet. That was going to be another big shock. Probably even bigger than the lower back. But this is what I said to one of my spiritual advisors. I was crying one day, and I said, "Why me?" And she said, "Steph, you got it all wrong. It's why not? Apparently I have been chosen, and I need to see it that way. I've been chosen to show the rest of you that we are not to be sad about everything. That God, yes, God can cure anything. But maybe my curing, for right now, at least, today, is not meant to be. And I have to accept it. It's called acceptance. Alright? I'm going to read you something. This was given to me by a wonderful woman, one of my very top spiritual advisors. And her name was Ginger, by the way. An amazing woman. The attempt to avoid legitimate suffering lies at the root of all emotional illness. Profound statement, isn't it? The attempt to avoid it lies at the root of mental illness. We'll drive ourselves crazy. Okay? Now, there's a lot of other things that I was taught. This is a good one for today. There is no such thing as death. Nothing ever dies. Nothing that God has created. It is only changed, and always into something better. Without fail, it has changed into something better. So I do not mourn the passing of my child. When I am sad about him, it is my own sadness at missing his presence in my life. And it's purely what it is. And it's selfish of me to be that way. I had 34 beautiful years of my son. And when I try to stop and think about, well, I didn't get to say this and I didn't get to say that. Wrong. Everything is as it should be. Try to remember that. Everything is as it should be. Okay? Now, the beginning of love. This is from Thomas Merton, by the way. No man is an island. The beginning of love is to let those we love be perfectly themselves, and not to trust them to fit our own image. Otherwise, we love only the reflection of ourselves we find in them. Profound, isn't it? But very spiritual. So you can find spirituality anywhere and everywhere. You just have to be looking for it. You know, I was going to read some more, but I don't think I need to. And I am going to do another YouTube very soon because there's something coming up, and you all need to be ready for it. Yeah, they're trying to contact me. Well, I love y'all, and I love all of you who have given to me over the past half a year now. I love all of you, and I don't know what the future holds. None of us do, but I do know that with the right attitude, my future will be much brighter. So y'all hang in there. I love y'all. And this is Spiritual Foundations 21.